Hello everyone, welcome back to my living room. It's a beautiful Saturday here in Portland, Maine. Very chilly outside. Penelope and I are just hanging out. I felt inspired to pick up my upright bass and just talk to you guys a little bit today about what it means to walk a bass line. We've been talking about Ionian, Dorian, and Mixolydian scales. We then put those into a series of chord changes, 2-5-1 chord progressions, and then practiced moving our scales over those chords. So that's the first step that is necessary to sort of realize what we're doing with walking a bass line. It's very much a stepwise practice for the most part. It's very much like playing scales. But in order to be interesting and to sound good, knowing where you are and what you are playing is of absolute importance. So if we take a 2-5-1 chord progression, let's say we're in the key of C. We're going to use D minor, D Dorian on the 2, G7 on the 5 chord, and C on the 1 chord. Hear what I'm talking about. So that's D Dorian, 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. So Dorian scale differs from a natural minor scale in that it has a flat 7, a flat third, and a natural 6. What we call a natural minor has a flatted 6th scale degree. So that would be, in terms of your classifying this as a mode, that's the Aeolian mode, and it happens on the 6th scale degree. So if we're in C, that would be A. You don't need to know that right now, but that's just what it is for your knowledge. So again, D minor, 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, natural 6, flat 7, 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. So just like the Ionian scale, but with a flat 7, Ionian being major scale. And then the major scale on the C. And I do apologize, I have a little bit of a cold, so sorry if I'm hard to understand or sound poopy. Ionian scale, C, D, E, F, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Natural 7. This is Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do. Alright, so we have those 3 scales. If we start on the 2 chord, we're going to have like 1 measure of D minor, 1 measure of G, and 2 bars of C. 1 bar, 1 bar. So 2, 5, 1. The first rule of walking bass lines, the only rule that you should take away from this entire lesson, is on beats 1 and 3, it's a chord tone, so 1, 3, 5, or 7. On beats 2 and 4, it can be anything else. You can deviate from the key on beats 2 and 4. Because of the way we perceive music, beats 2 and 4 are where we're feeling things, and beats 1 and 2 is where we're hearing harmony. If you start on a chord tone, you can hear the change. If you start on a scale tone, you obscure the change. Here's your C Ionian scale. Now, within that scale, you have notes that are associated only with the scale, okay, but not with the chord. In order to make a chord, if we're having a root position C chord, I would play C, and then I would play E, right, the third, 1, 3, and then I would play G, G being the fifth. Okay, that's the arpeggio of C, and there's the chord. All right, 1, 3, 5. So chord tone, like 1, 3, or 5, keeps us within the key that we're in, and provides us with an opportunity to delay that landing on G on beat 1. So if we play an A, and then G, G for that downbeat, then we can get to C by moving through G for 4 beats. So that's cool. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Right? So that was one way we can do it. Now, what we could also do is use what we call a chromatic passing tone. So we could choose like arpeggiating the chord using a chord tone, right? In this case, D, E, F, A. Or we could use what's called a chromatic passing tone. The coolest way to use a chromatic passing tone, well, I mean, they're all cool. So in this case would be D, E, F, and then the chromatic passing tone is a note that is between a note of the scale and another note of the scale. We're sort of sticking this in there. So we have an F sharp, okay, which is a chromatic passing tone, passes between F and G. Right? So if we did that, right? There's another one coming up here. So, hear that? That's the chromatic option. And that brings us to G on beat 1. D, E, F, F sharp, G, and then we're in G, right? Now, let's hear that A instead. Great. That sounds cool. That's a little bit more interesting. Now, what if we continued up the scale and we land on G? Well, then we have this note, right? G sharp, A flat, which we could shove in there and get us back to G. Okay? So we have a few different options there. We've got scale-wise motion, sort of using chord tones, like skipping intervals a little bit. So we skip the 4 and go straight to the 5. We got chromatic passing. And then we've got a little chromatic grace note. So there's a few different ways to get from D to G. So now I'm going to walk through a 2-5-1 chord progression in C, and I'm going to land on the roots on the downbeat so you can hear where the changes are. I'll use a combination of chromatic passing tones and scale tones or non-chord tones or something like that in order to get myself into that downbeat. You'll hear it. So if I'm starting, we're in the key of C, starting on a D minor. I'll try to just play the third every time we get to a downbeat. And you should still be able to hear the chord changes moving. Start each one of these chord changes on the 5th of each scale. So here we go. If we're in D, it's starting on an A. Mess that up a little bit, sorry. Now I'm going to play a mix of starting on 1, 3, 5, and I might throw some 7 in there as well. And you'll still be able to hear the chords changing because I'm placing a chord tone on beat 1 and beat 3, and scale tone, chord tone, chromatic passing tone, something like that, on beats 2 and 4. Something like that. I know that wasn't perfect, but you get the idea. See, now I'm not focusing on talking.